Hi guys, it's Tiffany, and today I'm going to be doing a tag that was created by Megan at Too Cool for Middle School and Tawnya at Smartie Style. They started a tag that is all about how much teachers make, if it's a livable wage. So as of right now, I live in California, but my last teaching experience was in South Carolina. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the cost of being a teacher in South Carolina. So if that's something that you're interested in, then let's get into it. Question number one on this tag is, what state or country do you live in? When I was teaching, I was in South Carolina. Question number two is, how many people live in your household? At the time, it was me, my husband, my son who was 4 and 5 during this time, and my other son who was 6 months old when I started teaching and was almost 2 or about 2 when I quit. Number three is, are you a single or double income household? And at the time, we were a double income household. I was obviously a teacher and my husband was enlisted in the military. Number five is, what is your highest level of education and did that have any impact on your pay? So when I started teaching in South Carolina, I already had a master's degree and that did impact my pay. For the pay scale in the district that I worked in, your pay increased with the amount of experience that you had, so years that you had been a teacher. But there were also categories that moved over this way that were based on education. So it was like a bachelor's degree, a bachelor's plus a certain amount of credit hours, a master's degree, a master's plus a certain amount of credit hours, and then a doctorate. And I fell right into the master's degree. And when I was teaching there, I was a first-year teacher and a second-year teacher. And in that district, during those first 2 years, you don't receive a raise. It's not until your third year that you actually increase based on experience. Number six is, how much did it cost you to attain your degrees and are you still paying for it? Yep. I'm definitely in a lot of debt. I will say, for me and my education, after my bachelor's degree, I got very strategic about selecting the programs that I went into. I initially started out at Appalachian State University. That's the school I picked when I was in kindergarten. I decided to be a teacher. That's the only school I applied to. And so that's where I went. Obviously took out student loans. And after my first year of college, I got married. My husband had orders to Hawaii, so we moved to Hawaii. I was 19 at the time, so I still had the rest of my bachelor's degree to go. So I continued with that, all on student loans. My parents did not contribute to my education. They just didn't have the means to do that. By the time I finished my bachelor's degree, from moving around and switching schools, I had to go a little bit longer to finish up. And it was not too bad. My loans weren't terrible, but you know, when you're going to a state college like that, really anywhere, it's not as expensive as a private college, but it's still a big investment. It's not as inexpensive as, say, going to a community college first and then transferring in. So I had a substantial amount of loans. And then from there, I decided to get my master's degree, but we were supposed to be moving. And so I could not go back to the University of Hawaii to do that. So I found a program online at an accredited school. It was a good school. It was a good program, and completed my master's degree online, but they offered a slight discount to active duty military spouses. So I did get a small discount on that. And after my master's degree and my bachelor's degree, I was running about $70,000 to $72,000 in debt. And then I decided to get my doctorate. And so I was also very strategic about picking a school for my doctorate. I did find a school that has what I want, and I was very specific about what I wanted. I wanted it to be at a school that was very research oriented, because research is a passion of mine, and I wanted a school who was going to support me in that. And so I looked for that. And then I also found something that would be affordable. So if you don't take out any extra, that's including money for your textbooks or just extra for the loans that they offer you, the entire doctorate program is supposed to be $28,000. To offset my cost, however, I also signed up to be a graduate assistant. So there are things that you can do to strategically select schools or to reduce the cost of your tuition. And for me, being a graduate assistant, I work 10 hours a week. I make about a little, it's like, I don't know, it's like $390 or $395 a month as just like money, but I also receive vouchers towards my tuition. Sometimes it'll be 50%, sometimes it'll be 100%, but it reduces the cost of my tuition, which reduces the cost of my loans. So if you're willing to look for those things and put in a little extra work, you can save money. So by the time I'm finished, I expect to be somewhere around $110,000. But if you talk to most people that have their doctorate, you're going to see that I was very strategic. I just did my best to make sure I got the quality education, but at a price that was realistic for my family. So number 7 is, how is your salary schedule designed or laid out? And I kind of already explained this. Like, you can increase with the amount of years that you have, but you also get kind of a bump when you move over this way based on the amount of education that you had. When I looked at the salary schedule just recently before doing this video, it seems like it had gone up overall. It wasn't much, but there was an overall raise. Now the highest you can get, so the max out on that district in South Carolina, it was Beaufort, South Carolina. The max out you could get was with a doctorate degree, and the max amount of years you were done at $77,000. So for that area, it's right there near Hilton Head. So you're near a very wealthy area. The area that I taught in specifically had a lot of affordable neighborhoods. You had some extremely wealthy people in that area, but you could get a nice house in a decent area if that's something that you wanted with that income. Number 8 is, where are you on your district's salary schedule? I sort of already told you that too. I was a first and second year teacher when I taught there, and I was under the master's category. Number 9 was, do you supplement your income in any way, and if so, how? I did actually. So after my first year of teaching, I signed up and I taught summer school, which was an awesome experience. My second year teaching, I was an after-school tutor for English language learners, which I loved. I did that once a week, and that came out to, I believe, $100 a month. And then I was also the co-advisor for student council after school. I did that with another teacher, and we got a stipend. I believe it was about $500 for the school year. But that was a lot of work. We had to plan the dances and fundraisers, and we ran the school store and just all kinds of things all throughout the year. So that was really, really a busy job, but the extra money did help a little bit. Mostly I did it because I enjoy that stuff. The next question is, how much money does the district give you for supplies at the beginning of the year, and did they give you any more money? We did get a certain amount of money. We could use it on specific websites. We could use it on School Supply, I believe was the website. And we could get things like paper, construction paper, pencils, and glue. So I pretty much got all of that stuff with that. And most of my things lasted me for the entire year. That didn't go towards anything that I used to decorate my classroom, anything that was a bonus, any books that I wanted, or anything like that. That chunk of money only was enough to cover paper and glue and colored pencils and markers, because you know those things have to be replaced pretty much every year. The markers get dry, they get smashed in, and the colored pencils get broken, and the pencils get used up. So that pretty much went to all of that. And then there was also a thing that we did before the school year started. It was like at the end of the year before, they gave us a set amount of money for each department. So social studies had money, and then that money was divided up between the different grade levels, and that's where you would get more books for the classroom library or any maps or things like that that you needed. The school also supplied us with copy paper. We got 3 of those big boxes, and that was supposed to be all we got for the year, but if you really, really needed it, they would find you some more paper to use. So those, I think I ended up going through like 4 or maybe 5 of those, probably 4 boxes, and then a little bit extra, just because I did interactive student notebooks both of those years, and so that takes a lot of copy paper. Sorry. Number 11 is, do you have additional deductions taken out of your paycheck? Yes, and probably not as much as some people. I had money taken out for retirement, which was a lot of money. That and taxes wiped out my paycheck. So I told you guys that I made $39,900. That second year we got like a $2,000 bonus, so you could say that it was $41,900. I brought home about $2,000 a month, so I was bringing home $24,000 after taxes and deductions, which is, that's insane to me. And I I didn't even realize how much was going into those things until I went to do my taxes, and they were like, man, they took a lot of money from you. And I was like, really? I was wondering what was wrong. I thought maybe I had been like misinterpreting the pay scale or something. So yeah, that was a huge chunk of my paycheck, which now that I'm in California, I don't know how I'm gonna get that retirement money. I guess that's a whole nother conversation, but anyway, so yes, I had that taken out. And then I was on my husband's insurance. So the military has TRICARE, or whatever name it's under now. It constantly changes. It could still be TRICARE and just have another umbrella. I don't know, it's too much to keep up with. But the military for spouses and kids has terrible dental and vision. So I did take the vision from my paycheck. Number 12 is, do you feel like your current salary is enough to make ends meet? This is a tricky question for me, because when I started teaching, I was 25 and I already had 2 kids. So most people who would have taken the salary that I had, they might have been older, they might have had 1 kid, but it's not as common for a first-year teacher to have 2 kids and be a little bit older like I was. So with that in mind, it was barely enough to cover both of my kids' daycare. So I told you I brought home $2,000 a month after everything. My boys' daycare was almost that entire paycheck every month. And then I had a 45-minute commute both ways, so it's a lot of gas. So it's just, if I had been a single parent with those boys, I don't think that would have been a livable wage. If it was just me and my husband, or just me, and I'd had the master's degree at that level and everything, then yes, I think that was a livable wage. Now, I had teacher friends who I worked with who were newer teachers, so within that 3 to 4 year window of teaching, they were single, they did not have kids, and they were still having to pick up second jobs and anything that they could to afford rent in that area. So I will say that if I hadn't had the master's degree, even if I was single, I don't know that I would have been able to afford to live in that area. And that was a really big discussion while I lived there, of whether or not those first couple year teachers were making enough money, because a lot of them, after their first or second year, they were leaving because they just couldn't make ends meet. So I don't know that it would have been a livable wage without the master's degree, and if I wasn't married and had my husband's income to supplement me. That was kind of a challenge. Number 13 is, how many months a year do you receive a paycheck? So we had the option to either select to get it during the school year or to get it for 12 months, and I just had mine divvied up between the 12 months, so I didn't have to think about it. Number 14 is, in general, what are your major monthly expenses? So as I said before, my boys' daycare took up most of my paycheck. It was about $1,000 a month to have both of them in daycare where I had them. And on top of that, like I said, I had a 45-minute commute both ways. Finn was little, so we were still having pretty frequent baby appointments at that point. So those are things you have to pay. And yes, even with military health care, I went to civilian doctors, so I had co-pays and things like that. Diapers, we ordered our diaper box subscription from the Honest Company each month, and that was all of our diapers, all of our wipes, their soap and their lotion and everything. And that was about $88 a month. And then even though I breastfed Owen for 2 years, with Finn, I was so stressed out with being a first-year teacher and pumping and breastfeeding and all the things that were happening, that by the time it got to about February of my first year teaching, I stopped. So he was about 1 year old when I stopped, and I started supplementing with formula. So I also added the Honest Company formula into our diaper box, which increased that cost. So that was an expense. So it was just, and then obviously everything that goes into creating a first year teacher's classroom and second year teacher's classroom, those were expenses that I had. Number 15 is, are there any financial goals that you are still working towards? Yes, I would love to pay off my student loans, and I would love to start saving more money for my boys. I don't want them to start their adult life under this weight of debt for whatever they want to do. So I don't plan to pay for all of their college, because I don't foresee that as being something that I can do. But if I could get half or 75% of their tuition out of the way from them, or even if I could cover maybe a bachelor's degree and then they have to take on the rest, I would love to be able to do that for them and just set them up for better than what I have, because I feel like that's what we are supposed to do is set up the next generation to have it better, to be better than we are. And then number 16, what is the biggest piece of financial advice you would offer someone considering teaching? I don't know that I'm the best person to give financial advice. I do my best. I'm kind of frugal. I don't buy a lot of things. Just from lessons that I've learned, I would say don't go crazy buying things for your first year of teaching. So just know that sometimes when you see people who have these really decked out crazy classrooms, they've been doing it for a while, or they had people donate things to them, or they spent their summer going around to thrift shops and stuff, finding bargains and doing a lot of DIY things. So it's not like you need to go out and spend tons of money to have that in your classroom. And you know, you could have the most decorated classroom in the world, the coolest space ever, but it's about those relationships that you build that really set the tone for your classroom. Everything else is just extra. And another thing is, if you are not in college yet, or you're in college right now, something to think about is what I talked about earlier, just being strategic with your school choices. Don't pick a school that's gonna cost you like $100,000 just to get a bachelor's degree. It's not worth it. They're not going to reimburse you for that as a teacher. So go to a school, maybe you go to a state school, or maybe you go to community college for 2 years, then transfer into a 4-year university. Just be really strategic about what you select. With all that being said, I made okay money in South Carolina. I probably could have gotten by. But for me, the thing to keep in mind was the 2 kids, and that really made a huge difference in my salary and how it got divvied up each month. But I hope that these conversations about finances won't deter you from teaching, because it really is the best job in the world. If you have a calling or a passion for this is where you need to be. All right, guys, thank you so much for checking this out. I hope that it was informative in some way, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.